Right now, something thousands of miles above your head knows where you are. It can guide you to a restaurant, track a package across the country, help an airplane land, lead an ambulance to an emergency, and tell your phone exactly where you are standing. We call it GPS. And most of us use it without thinking twice. But GPS wasn't originally created to help you find the fastest route home. It was built because of war. And the story of how a military navigation system became something billions of people depend on every day begins during one of the most intense technological rivalries in history, the Cold War. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the United States by launching Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite. It was a small metal sphere orbiting Earth, transmitting a simple radio signal. But American scientists noticed something fascinating. As Sputnik moved toward them, the frequency of its radio signal changed. As it moved away, the frequency changed again. Scientists realized that if they knew the satellite's position, they could use its signal to calculate their own location on Earth. Then came an even bigger realization. If you could determine your location using satellites, navigation itself could be transformed. And for the military, that was incredibly valuable. Ships could know exactly where they were. Aircraft could navigate across enormous distances. Submarines could determine their positions with greater accuracy. And weapons could potentially be guided toward targets with precision that earlier generations could barely imagine. The United States began developing satellite navigation systems, but early versions had limitations. A receiver might have to wait for a satellite to pass overhead. That wasn't good enough. The military wanted something much more powerful, a system that could provide accurate positioning anywhere on Earth, 24 hours a day. During the 1970s, the United States Department of Defense began developing what would eventually become the Global Positioning System, GPS. The idea was ambitious. Place a constellation of satellites around Earth. Each satellite would continuously broadcast extremely precise timing information. A receiver on the ground could compare signals from several satellites and calculate its location. The principle sounds simple. The engineering was anything but. GPS depends on extraordinarily accurate clocks. Satellites carry atomic clocks capable of measuring time with astonishing precision. Because radio signals travel at the speed of light, even tiny timing errors can produce significant positioning errors. Your GPS receiver essentially asks, how long did the signal from each satellite take to reach me? Using several satellites, it calculates where those signals intersect. And that intersection tells the receiver where it is. Latitude, longitude, altitude, all determined by machines orbiting thousands of miles above Earth. But for years, GPS remained primarily a military system. Then a tragedy helped change its future. In 1983, Korean Airlines Flight 007 strayed into Soviet airspace and was shot down, killing everyone aboard. After the disaster, President Ronald Reagan announced that once GPS became operational, civilian aircraft would eventually be allowed to use the system. A technology developed for military advantage was beginning to move into civilian life, but there was a catch. For years, the most accurate GPS signals were reserved for the U.S. military. Civilian users received intentionally degraded accuracy through a feature known as selective availability. Your GPS might know approximately where you were, but the military could know much more precisely. Then, in May of 2000, everything changed. The United States turned selective availability off. Almost overnight, civilian GPS accuracy dramatically improved. And an explosion of innovation followed. Car navigation systems became practical. Surveyors transformed the way they measured land. Farmers began using GPS to guide tractors with extraordinary precision. Shipping companies could track fleets. Emergency responders could locate incidents faster. Aircraft navigation became increasingly sophisticated. Then GPS entered the device that would put satellite navigation into billions of pockets. The smartphone. Suddenly, people weren't simply using GPS for navigation. They were building entire industries around location. Ride-sharing apps could connect passengers with nearby drivers. Food delivery services could follow orders across a city. Fitness applications could map every mile you ran. Parents could locate phones. Businesses could analyze traffic. Photographs could record where they were taken. And social media could connect digital information to physical places. Something designed for military navigation had quietly become infrastructure for everyday life. But here's the part most people don't realize. GPS doesn't simply tell you where you are. Precise GPS timing helps synchronize parts of modern civilization. Telecommunications networks use accurate timing. Financial systems depend on precise timestamps. Electrical power grids use synchronization. Transportation networks depend on satellite navigation. In other words, losing GPS wouldn't simply mean people getting lost on road trips. Entire systems could be disrupted. And that vulnerability has created a new technological race. GPS signals reaching Earth are incredibly weak. They can be jammed. They can potentially be spoofed, making a receiver believe it is somewhere it isn't. That's why militaries, governments, researchers, and technology companies are developing backup navigation methods and stronger positioning systems. Other nations have also created their own satellite navigation constellations. Europe has Galileo, China has Beidou, Russia operates GLONASS. What began as a military competition has become part of the invisible infrastructure surrounding the entire planet. And that's what makes the history of GPS remarkable. A Cold War satellite race produced an idea. Military engineers turned that idea into a global navigation system. Civilian access transformed it into a commercial revolution. And smartphones eventually made it something billions of people carry everywhere. Today, when you open a map and watch that tiny blue dot appear on your screen, it feels completely ordinary. But that dot represents decades of military research, atomic clocks, satellites racing through space, mathematical calculations, and signals traveling thousands of miles to reach the device in your hand. GPS was built to help navigate a dangerous world. Instead, it ended up helping navigate almost everything. And perhaps the strangest part is this. One of the most important technologies in your daily life is operating above your head right now, and most of the time, you don't even notice it.